And that's very, very interesting. And the last question is a little bit about the current situation about the pandemic. I know that there's been some research about the role of vitamin K2 and the COVID pandemic. So, and I know that you have been doing some trial study about it. And I would like to know whether you can tell us how is the study developing?
Well, in the beginning, we were not active in this domain at all. Last year, when the pandemic started, there was a university hospital in the Netherlands that started to look into the K2 status of the patients that came into the hospital. The reason is that one of the doctors working in this hospital had already done research on K2 before, on people with chronic lung disease, and he noticed some similarities in COVID patients, so he was curious. So he started to do K2 testing. And at the end of the study, he saw some negative correlations. So on the one hand, if you compare the people that came to the hospital with COVID-19 to a healthy control group, the hospitalized patients had a lower K2 status. So that was already remarkable. And then within those patients that were hospitalized, the team saw that the lower the K2 status was, the higher the probability that the patients would need ventilation or would eventually die, so higher mortality. So it was really significant, so interesting to look into. And then a couple of months later, the study was repeated, or a similar study was done by a team in Denmark, with again similar results. So this started to raise interest in the scientific world. Then in the US, a group of hospitals in Ohio also started to do research, again with very exciting results. And one of the researchers wrote a book about it. It's simplifying the COVID puzzle. So she's explaining the importance of vitamin D3 and K2 to fortify the immune system. Now, a lot is still to be discovered. Right now, there is an interventional trial going on. So this time it will be not just looking at what is the status of the patients, but really giving actively vitamin K2 supplements to part of the patients, and then comparing the results with patients that just receive a placebo. So the study is running. It's in the Netherlands again. We hope that first publications will be done by the end of the year. And our vitamin K2 is being used in the trial, because when you do such a trial, you have to have a very pure and a very stable ingredient. And our vitamin K2, of course, replied to those criteria. There are many studies ongoing right now, and we are very excited to know more about it. What we know, and that's for sure, we don't need more proof of that, is that vitamin D3 in the pandemic is super important. The big majority of the population has deficiency in vitamin D3, so we need to supplement in D3, and this is something that is recognized by hundreds of doctors all over the world. And when you take D3, you should combine with K2 because of the synergetic actions between these two vitamins. Now, there are some hypotheses on the role of vitamin K2 independently from D3 in COVID patients. So it could very well be that D3 has an influence on thrombosis regulation, which is a typical negative side effect in COVID patients. There is already some evidence that K2 plays a role in avoiding calcification of pulmonary fibers, which is again a complication in COVID patients. And K2 also plays a role in downregulating infections. That was known already before COVID. There were already some studies, but now this pops up again in these COVID studies. So really important or interesting hypotheses that are being examined, and already quite some interesting data. I mean, we know that K2 has no negative effects. We know that we need it for other reasons, and this is one reason more when we think of immunity, to think also about vitamin K2.
So it could be a way to strengthen our immunity system in order to fight the COVID or the COVID infection.
It's in combination with D3. K2 is really part of a strategy to fortify your immune system, and that's important because we've had a pandemic, but we will face other situations where our immune system needs to be supported, and this is really something to think of. And it's the message is spreading. I mean, there's the book, but the number of articles in specialist journals is increasing. So this is also something that will be known to the general public rapidly, because in this digital world, that's the kind of news that spreads rapidly.
Wow, very, very interesting. I think there will be a lot to discover in the very next future.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a very exciting vitamin, because working at Kappa, I discover new studies every year, and I get more and more convinced with each study that I read. It's really thrilling.
May I ask you a personal question? What's the factor you like most about working for Kappa? So about working in this particular field and for the company. May I ask you?
There's many reasons. I come from, I've worked in the pharmaceutical sector over the last 10 years. What I like about the nutraceutical sector is it's the prevention. So we are really talking about how to stay healthy, and I'm a health and food maniac. I love good food, and I also love to know that the food that I eat is good for my mind and body. But even with the best choice of ingredients, you are always lacking of some nutrients, because we don't get our vegetables from the garden anymore, but from the supermarket. We have pollution, we have stress, we have a number of factors that unfortunately we can't avoid. And I think it's super exciting to learn about that, to understand your body, to understand the nutrients that you need, and then to have a knowledge on ingredients that are available and to choose those that are best for you. So I really like this sector because it's also my personal passion. Commercially, I like it because it's very dynamic. You get to meet people that have exciting ideas. And then what I like about Kappa, of course, the product. When I heard about vitamin K2 for the first time, I started reading, and I was very rapidly convinced. So it's nice to work for a company that proposes a product that you believe in. I mean, otherwise I couldn't do it. I couldn't talk to you about a product that I don't believe in. And Kappa is also a very dynamic company. I mean, the company was founded 2006. The commercialization started 2011. And now 2021, we are 60 colleagues. It's a very international team with people of all ages, of all backgrounds, and what we all share is the enthusiasm to go further, and that's a very nice environment to be in.
Yeah, it's an enthusiasm that from the outside of the company, it's very easy to perceive. I mean, maybe it's my point of view, it's a little bit different from the general audience, but as I said, I really appreciate the way you communicate. It's very smart, very interesting, and which gets people, even people like me who do not have a special and a specific background in scientific things, can find really very interesting and very catching. I mean, you are brought to look for some more information, because you see this kind of way of communication, which is really interesting, very catching, and really, which I really like. So, Elisabeth, thank you very much, really, indeed, for your time. It's really, really nice to talk with you. It's always very nice. And so this interview is going to end, and we are going to hear it, to see it very soon in our social network channels. Thank you very much, Elisabeth De Preter, for your time, and to hello everybody, and see you soon on these channels. Grazie, Elisabeth.
Bye bye.